Hey all, welcome to Circle Tone. Today we have Faith No More. Big Jim Martin era Faith No More. There's going to be another video coming up on Billy Gould on the bass, because I actually have the exact bass amp that he used on this era and on We Care A Lot era Faith No More as well. And boy, was that fun trying to recreate the bass of how tight he is. Initially, the bass is so tight, I thought it was actually a keyboard, just like hitting a sample, like on like Black Velvet, believe it or not. Lots of trickery. In fact, speaking of trickery, when it comes to the bass, the producer didn't know what amp he used either, because he said he used a PV guitar amp, and he didn't. He used a bass amp. But I can understand why, because it's the Mark IV. Everyone thinks of Mesa Boogie when it comes to Mark IV. That's another video, bro. Why are you coming at me? Why are you coming at me? And before we get into that, I'd like to thank my patrons of Tone. We have a new patron, Richard P & Co. We got Tim S. Thanks, guys. Keep these speakers flapping. Fellas, my wife is an angel. She's been putting up with major flappage. Me trying to recreate this band, all right? Loud Marshalls, but the bass, holy shit. In fact, I actually give up on it because I couldn't get it. Because I didn't have the specific bass, and that's how stupid I am. I learned to do slap bass on this video. And epic is played with a pick. I've actually done a video in the past how most hits are using the pick. Fingerstyle, slapping, stuff like that doesn't usually, the general public don't like it as much as a picked bass. Most of the hits, Beatles, you name it, practically all of the top 100 songs of all time, you're not going to get a lot of busy slapping and finger popping and stuff like that, okay? But that is another video. Go check that out. I'll put that in the description for you. Hey, Big Jim fellas, researching this video. His interviews, I'm sorry to say this, are painful. Painful. Oh my God. He is so tight-lipped, bare bones, yes or no answers, doesn't give a lot away, but we did find a guitar magazine interview, which isn't online anywhere. It had to be like a physical magazine that somebody told me about. After I begged him, say, hey, do you know what XYZ used on this? And he was like, yes, it's this. And I needed a source because he's so tight-lipped. But yeah, this is how much people don't care about Big Jim Martin, is that they don't even like upload his Guitar Center interview. There's a later one, Angel Dust era, but not Epic era. So we got that. It's his Flying V, essentially. He's also knocking around with the Gibson Les Paul at that time. But it was a half stack, a Marshall JMP half stack. I'm trying to find out specifically what speakers they were, because I couldn't get close, and I can't get any of these. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm not going to cut these strings until I get 50 paid patrons, okay? I'm having trouble down here. It's very cold. With intonation, with tuning and stuff like that, because I like Gibson style guitars, and Gibson's sound amazing, even though these are Yamahas that I'm using. I'm using a Yamaha SL Studio Load 800 on mine, and it's stock. So the pickup sounds really good because it's actually microphonic. So it's broken. Essentially, that is broken, but it's broken beautifully, because sometimes when I ring a note out of it, the fucking sustain is like a molten lava goddess swirling around my ear holes, all right? So there's a lot to be said. Two of my favorite pickups that I have are both microphonic. I got one T-top, not my regular ones, but I've got one in a random guitar somewhere. I think it's in a box right now. I need a certain guitar guy to help me out that I'm in touch with, but things keep on going wrong. Believe it or not, if I turn this camera around, my basement flooded. Look at all this stuff. There's walls, drywall removed behind the camera, and it's sketchy right now, but I'm trying to get it done. I'm fixing it, and we're almost there. Things have been sidetracking me, but I'm going to keep on uploading, okay? Epic was pretty much the first major thing that he ever produced, and he hated his mix because it didn't sound good in his car. But what he didn't know was when MTV finally, it was a flop. It was like 7-8 months after it was released, and the label was like pulling their hair out. They said, well, how are we going to break this band? Nothing's working. We've done a single already. It went nowhere. And they said, okay, we'll throw some money at them and we'll do one more video. And that video was Epic. And like I was saying, with the producer didn't like the mix. He said something that was very, something I've never thought about before. And it's a sign of the times. That album sounded amazing through TV speakers. So tinny speakers, like today now the equivalent would be it sounds good on a cell phone, right? And it sounded really good on small speakers. If you listen to Epic on big boy speakers, I don't know, man. I'm not sure if they've remastered it since the ones I've been listening to, but it sounds really good to me. Especially the bass, the isolated bass on this is so massive. I could not recreate it. I got close. I'll tell you what I used I'll tell you what Billy used for the bass in the next one, but this one is more about Big Jim. We got to get him some more recognition because I have some theories. Faith No More. I thought Mr. Bungle was a pile of shit. I thought it was self-indulgent, busy, unmusical nonsense. And apparently you had to be there. You had to see him live. And Mike Patton, right? Epic was a time where he knew his place in the band. I'm sorry, but all the people falling over themselves for his art noise projects, I've never heard. He's strapping stupid shit to his face. He's singing into like the vintage microphones and screaming and braying, and he's done like movie soundtracks being a zombie and the rest of it. I don't think any of his side project shit is good, including the new stuff he did thrash-wise with Scott Ian and everything. I think it's mid. I think, this is the crux, this is the only reason I did this video. I think Big Jim Martin was like an anchor, keeping him down, all right? Stopping him from fucking up all the older albums. I do love King for a Day. So he's kind of, they never got better than Epic. Let's face it, I do, saying that, I do like King for a Day more, all right? And I do think it was a Mr. Bungle guitarist that was on that, all right? But I think I like it because of the production. I'm not so much the songs, the production. I think the basic, ballsy rock tones of Jim Martin kept that band down because it's almost like a balloon, and you let it go and then it goes off into all this eclectic shit. And you know, people like Radiohead have done the same thing where they go down the artistic route and they just end up going up their own asses. And I honestly think that Mike Patton's he's gone up his own ass for decades. You know, he hasn't released anything of note that I've loved as much as what he did when he was glad to be in the band and struggling. And this is another video, yet another video of a real human boy on drums. The drums and bass are so tight, I thought that they were triggered, all right? His flams, a flam is like 2 snare hits. Well, it can be on any drum. You don't even notice them. They're so subtle. And again, Patton, He's got some success. He's starting to feel himself, and he's starting to be edgy boy. You know, oh, I hate music so much, and you know. I just want to destroy it. Okay, bro. He's so deep. Speaking of edgy boys, this is Sacred Son, and I hate one producer modern black metal. And this dude, he brought out an album. I think he recorded all of it with his iPhone. So all the audio is like with an iPhone. I have to laugh at Sacred Son's album cover. Hilarious, right? He looks like a normal dude and it's funny. So I thought, gimmick. Then I listened to Nothing But Snakes Around Here, and my eyes kind of rolled up into the top of my head. Clear and pure. Very noisy, very industrial, very random, very sketchy sounding band. I only like one song. I liked one song of his so much, I bought his t-shirt. Sacred Son. That's part of, I'm doing a video soon on my favorite album covers, and this is one of them. So it's a bit of a spoiler alert. So tell me what your favorite album covers are in the comments, and I'll check them out, because there's some classics. I can't wait to show some of them with you, and the music. So usually the album art coincides with good music, not just, throwaway shit. And what's funny about Patton, undeniably one of the greatest voices in music. And he purposely did the teenage nasally thing for Faith No More, almost because he's so edgy, almost taking the piss out of the business and the way that the music was going. He'd make fun of the Chili Peppers, and some of his rapping style was kind of like memeing on a lot of bands that were around. You want it all, but you can't have it. Yeah. It's crying. This is pretty funny, where I learned how to slap bass for this video, and I got actually pretty decent at it. My thumb's killing me, and it's not a thumb bass for this track. And what's funny is Chuck, the original singer from We Care a Lot, he was actually taking a piss while singing, while testing microphones for his voice, and he started crooning like Frank Sinatra, and the producer was like, "Where's this voice been? Do a voice like that, stop messing around." And he actually did a song with that voice. So rest in peace, Chuck. I remember seeing We Care a Lot and thinking, what a bunch of fucking nerds. I'll be honest. I thought, ew, art rock, you know what I mean? But then you listen to it, and all of a sudden it's in your dreams, and then you're singing We Care a Lot over and over. Undeniable hits. And hits. My babies, what am I talking about? I am so sick of guitar nerds, of music nerds, of like artcore noise freaks like Patton. I'm so sick. Can you start, like I said it in Radiohead where they went up their own ass. Can you start proving that you can write a hit? How about that? Is it so like anti-corporate or whatever you think, whatever is in your mind, where you think it's embarrassing or below you to writing a hit is one of the hardest things you can do. A real solid, glorified, wave your beer to it and sing along. Can you get back? Guys, guitar nerds, stop riffs. I'm so sick of your riffs. I'm so sick of your perfect tone. Write some good songs, please. Some choruses, some verses, some hooks, some transitions. Let's get thinking about it instead of like, how can I blow you away with my tone? How can I blow you away with my technicality? How can I blow you away with how like noisy and industrial and hardcore I am and forcing it? It's like, write me a fucking hit. I want to be like an old school record producer with a big cigar. Show me the hits. Let's get to it. Riffs are great. Riffs are fine, but look how basic most of the riffs were on Epic. I think it takes a lot to show that amount of restraint. And he was like dragging every note out of that guitar, every note, every layer. That is what impresses me as the end of level guitar boss. I am the biggest gear nerd, gear snob. Look at this. I am the end of level, all right? And I have come full circle all the way around. Show me the hits. Write a hook. I'm so fed up with these guitar virtuosos that are basically just doing a solo for the entire song, just tapping the whole song out. Like, that is impressive. I'm spitting facts. Okay, calm down a little bit. Let's have a drink of water. Let's calm down. It's not that important. Music isn't life or death. It's much more important than that. Big Jim Martin, his first band, practically, that he was playing live in, was with Cliff Burton. How crazy is that? And it was Cliff Burton that actually turned Billy Gould, the bass player, onto Araya Pro 2 basses, because that's what he actually used on Epic, right? And he complained about something that I'm going through right now when it comes to these old school guitars. The neck's bend when it gets cold and it warms up, and then he says like the neck was like a banana all the time. Because it would, if you've ever traveled with musical instruments, you might start off in Florida. It might be 100 degrees, in the bottom of the plane. And then you end up coming up to here, it's minus 20, and your neck's going to go. And tuning's a bitch. I tried to intonate you, but no bueno. I do have to probably get another bridge for these bitches, even though they do sound absolutely amazing and they play so nice. I actually sold all of my Gibsons and replaced them with 70s Yamaha copies. I hate elephants, and they used tusk for the actual nut. I love elephants. It's so fucked up. The Japanese kind of from World War II, and I've actually been to Japan. And I know some people in Japan, and they are kind of like, I'm not saying they're lizard-brained, all right? Where they say, yeah, sure, let's kill some elephants for our guitars. And they'll go, yeah, sure, and won't even give it a second thought. Where are we? Cliff Burton.
Of misfortune. Well, how do you guys think you did tonight?
We did all right, I think. Pretty fair.
You did pretty fair, huh?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I think we did great.
Well.
And also, I think Big Jim Martin also, he liked Morley pedals. He used Morley pedals with the JMP half stack, and he didn't have a lot of options back then. He practically, even the producer said, like, it wasn't like we had lots of options, because after that you went on to the Mesa Mark IV, Mark III and stuff like that. So you had lots of options after the hit. But you can tell in the interview, in the painful interviews that I had to sit through, hours of them, with him talking about it, you can tell that he was not in a good place. And you could tell that there was friction when it came to direction. He was obviously feeling the pattern. And the Billy Gould actually was a huge aspect of most of the songwriting, the song structures as well. So the band was not pulling all in one direction like they were on Epic. So it's pretty funny. I keep on talking about pre-production. Epic was pre-produced. Billy Gould had a 4-track demo of it, which the producer said is one of the best things he's ever heard. I wonder if I can dig that up. If I do, it's right here. Was it there? I don't know. Actually, I don't even know what my mix sounds like, because I give up. I give up on this one, trying to sound like the album. I'm just going to, the guitar's out of tune, the bass is off. I'm like, let's just put it out. Because I have a problem where I try to really recreate it, and then all of a sudden day 3 is gone, and I'm playing 3 notes. There's probably 3 notes in the whole of Epic when it comes to bass. Imagine my poor family listening to me blasting the PV Mark something amplifier, which I'll tell you in the next video. She actually sent me a video of her 2 stories up, right? So I'm in the basement. She was putting my beautiful baby daughter to bed, and, well, baby, she's like 5. And you could hear me. It's rough, man. So I was shaking these foundations. That's probably what caused the flood in my basement, the cracks. I'm cracking. I'm getting cracking down here. This cracker ass is fucking flapping some speakers. So please join my Patreon. Help me out. Now, what they did do with Jim's guitar sound, took all the microphones, set them all up, like 26 or whatever. Probably 25, probably 24 tracks is what they had back then. They pretty much put them all around the room. So some of it was close mic'd and some of it was mic'd far away. And then they finally come to one guitar sound that they liked, and they practically used that on the whole album. That's why it sounds so good, man. They really, this producer, even though he hated his mix and he's come to love it, further on down the line, he actually came to the conclusion, oh yeah, I'm good at this. I'm not out of my depth. I am a good producer. This is, and how weird must it have been sitting on that album for months and months and months and nothing happens. And then all of a sudden, Epic gets released on MTV. Everybody's introduced to Mike Patton. They'd had a single out before that. Nobody gave a shit. And boom. It's fucking great. I love it. Because they have songs. Speaking of songs, I'm talking about choruses and transitions and verses and things. Epic kind of isn't a traditional radio song. It has a freak out in the middle of it with a solo, and it doesn't get to the chorus terribly quickly. It doesn't repeat the chorus very often, So it's a weird song, man, to get a hit. But the hooks are all in there. A lot of hooks are on the piano, on the keyboards. A lot of hooks on the drums, certain fills that you just want to air drum to. Kids, get in a room with other people, man. I don't think it wasn't recorded live. They did record it one at a time. The drums with the bass, and then they'd like re-record the bass, and because you can actually hear the drums in the monitors on the isolated tracks, which is fun to me because I love bleed. Bleed is one of my main things. But there's something about a real drummer going to tape with the compression, with the dynamics, with the distortion, the distortion that you get from tape, from smashing compression, because he was obsessed about compression back then. Compression and high end. And Marshall, that's what a Marshall does, so that's why the guitar sounded so good, because it was kind of like his lane. And then when you got a drummer hitting that hard with the compressors trying to keep up with it, it's just, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. You got the 24 track Struder and the, I believe it was a Trident mixing board. And then you got Mike Patton going through the good stuff, with a Newman U47. I think it's a FET mic. That's what I kind of used. I have 1073 style preamps. I went through it myself, and I didn't do the nasally kid vocals. I just tried to record it real quick, and it does not sound good. That's funny because stylistically, his vocals sound way better. Obviously, he's Mike Patton, but his style of choice of singing like that angry teenager, it's just such a good artistic choice. So there is something to be said about the hipsters. There's something to be said about being anti-music, Who am I? Who am I to say as I check my notes? So yeah, this is one of these rare videos where I'm actually more stoked about the bass than I am about the guitars. As good as the guitars are, and as fundamental as they are to that Faith No More greatness with Jim Martin, the bass, man, there's lots of little, I'm just dying to tell you of how they recorded it, how they recorded the bass. And I respect Billy Gold. I respect his playing like a machine. I am tight, but I almost started watching his bass tracks almost like Morse code, where I'd copy, so I'd know how to mute it with the left hand in between strikes. I was kind of like, I got into like a zone when I was playing. I was like staring at his playing, even though his bass was slightly out of time with my drums. I could just see the wave files of him. I was like, it's interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff. My bass does not sound like his. Boo-hoo. Probably because I was using a 12-inch speaker mixed with a 2x2. Let's not get into it. That's the next video. So you better subscribe and like, and I'll see you guys in the comments. You guys have been awesome in the comments recently. Loving the comments. I do respond to most of them. So I'll see you in the comments. Have a good one. Share any stories that you have about Faith No More, about the lore, about the craziness. And am I being a dickhead about Mike Patton's lack of success when it comes to his ambient, noisy, just, I don't know, fucking squirrel impressions? Who knows, dude? What's he up to? Just, can you stop crooning again? All right, chaps. Have a good one. You've been great. Any suggestions of bands that you want me to do in the future? Let me know. Oh, and check out this band, Sacred Sun. What a banger. All right, have a good one. See you next time. Circle of Tongue. Subscribe.